Turf Talk with Drew Miller.
Welcome to Tiger Turf Talk. We're excited to be partnering with the Toro company to kick off an all-new summer series focused on their upcoming Grounds Leadership Academy happening in June. Over the next 10 weeks, we will be releasing podcasts following Drew's road trip to Minneapolis and back, where he will be meeting with grounds professionals across the country. Please join us as we talk about their careers, the properties they manage, and their favorite Toro equipment. This episode of Tiger Turf Talk is brought to you by the Toro Company. For over 100 years, the Toro Company has been a leader in innovative solutions for turf maintenance. Through a strong network of professional distributors, Toro proudly offers a wide range of commercial-grade equipment. Visit Toro.com to explore their full lineup of products.
Welcome to the next stop on the Toro Leadership Podcast Tour with one of the best, if not the best, in our industry, Mr. Travis Hogan of the Kansas City Chiefs, field manager of Arrowhead Stadium, one of the greatest natural grass playing field surfaces in the country. How are you doing this evening? Again, a late night podcast, always fun.
Yeah, no, I'm good, man. I think that might have been a little over the top introduction, but I appreciate it.
No, it's not. You know it's not.
We try hard. I have a really good group of guys that, you know, they work hard, they try hard, and we're all in the same goal of just trying to consistently make things better.
I mean, and the thing that, you know, this whole, like, conference is about, I don't know if it's a conference, but this academy is about, you know, is leadership and people putting forward their best foot like your guys do all the time because, again, what you guys did this year, which we'll get into, was unheard of, you know, with the temperatures that you had and everything that was going into it. What has been, and when you sort of talked about it on the panel so far, but what is sort of your viewpoint on leadership and how are you sort of approaching your staff with different, you know, tactics of getting them to the point where they are now, where you have full faith in them and they're holding the standard of, again, the best, the Joneses, the best in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, the line is always, I don't want to keep up with the Joneses. I want to be the Joneses.
Yeah.
But I want everyone trying to keep up with us. I'm an uber competitive person. Really, my whole staff we're all kind of competitive, you know, we're all competitive people. We want to be good at what we do. And, you know, I've got a mixture of guys that have been there 40 years, 35 years. I've got guys that are, you know, right at 30 and one late 20s that, you know, when you mix those ages and just, when you're trying to build a team, you want the experience, but you also want the enthusiasm of the youth, and you're really trying to just let those guys have some say in what they want to do, how they want to do it, and sometimes you have to let go of the rope, and sometimes you have to reel the rope in, depending on what the situation is, right? The one thing I try to do is just empower them of, you know, there's a lot of times when, not everyday things, but like when there's really something super serious, if there's a big event coming or something coming down the pipe, you know, I go in, I just say, hey, look, here's what I think. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Right? And we just collaborate. You know, obviously I get a lot of credit, but those guys really deserve the credit of just us from a team standpoint of just getting things done, you know?
Be the same way as my program, you know, everything's on my kids, you know. A lot of people are always like, oh, I see your name everywhere. Like, oh, you wanted a field of the year or whatever, right? I'm like, no, I didn't. It was my kids, you know, because they're the ones putting in the work. They're the ones that are learning firsthand, you know. The fact that we can make a field look that good with kids, you know, that's the other thing.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
That's the other thing. That's like, kids are doing this, not me, you know. I'm there to ensure there's, you know, no craziness, you know, but yeah.
You're the captain driving the ship, right?
Exactly.
You're the captain driving the ship.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Like, captain gets a lot of credit, but the captain isn't doing anything that's actually making the ship go, minus turning the wheel.
For
right?
sure.
You're just guiding the ship in the right direction and then
Absolutely.
allowing them to do their job.
Now, you as captain, you know, there's a lot of stuff that goes into managing Arrowhead in a way that really it just doesn't make sense. You know, even to the turf professionals out there, you know, some of the things that you've done let's talk about this past year specifically, and Boyd made you bring it up in the panel today. He pointed at you, hey, let's talk about your pre-germ process. But what was it like, facing a challenge head on, and you're sort of like, there's really no true way that this is going to work unless we adapt. What was that like?
Well, 2017, we had a game against the Tennessee Titans, I believe on December 18th, that it was like -5, wind chills -30. We had just gotten heat in 2016, so we're trying to just figure out what to do, right? So I actually called Alan Johnson in Green Bay, like,
the guy of cold temps.
If anyone has seen these temps,
yes.
There's not very many people that have seen it other than
I got
Alan
to talk
Johnson,
to him about all this.
right?
He's incredible.
So I call Alan and I just said, hey, man, I'm in a situation I haven't been in. I really don't know enough yet with this heat of where to set it. I know I've heard from talking to different people, if you take it too high, field plays super soft. Obviously, if you're too low, field freezes. Like, where do you think I should put it?
Yeah.
So he tells me, to set it around 55, 60 degrees. We tarped that night, and when we took the tarp off, the field was actually pretty incredible. Like, it was really good.
Yeah.
It was like 6 degrees when we took the tarp off.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at it as we take the tarp off, I'm like, man, it looks pretty good, And we get the first tarp rolled up, maybe takes, 10 minutes max. And we go to pull the next tarp back, and you can completely see a color change in the first tarp to the second tarp.
Yeah.
Like, the field is just freezing. Like, the cells are freezing and the plant is going black in like minutes, right? So we went down the field. The very first section was like black as your hat. It was crazy
I gotcha.
to watch, right? Like, you're just like, holy cow.
You're like, oh shit.
As a turf manager, you're like, that really sucks. And at the same time, like, the science side of you is like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, there's
it's true. It's true. You're like,
I've never seen that before.
That's new.
Right? So going into this year, we know we're going to be -8 on Friday. We're playing on Saturday. We know we're going to be -8, and wind chills -40. So we we already know what happens if we put the rain tarp on with heat at certain temperatures, right? So I started thinking of, how do I think I could potentially save this? So what I decided was, we take the tarp off on Monday night, and we gradually, like, we have the heat cranked at this point, probably like 70.
For sure.
Right? So I take the tarp off on Monday, because we'd had some weather over the weekend, and let it start to get into these cold temps. Right? Well, obviously, we're not -8, but we're like, 20s, low 30s.
Still freezing.
Trying to get soil temperatures to around that 40 mark to make the ryegrass go completely dormant.
Crazy,
right? So we take it off for like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I think. And then we had to cover it back up on Thursday. And we're gradually just turning the heat down from 70 to 60 to 50. And I'm monitoring with like the SGL turf pods what our soil temps are. So
where we're going.
It gives me the opportunity, like, our sensors are 4.5 inches, the turf pods are 2 3/4 inches, and then I have one like at 1 inch.
For sure.
So obviously, seeing that, I can kind of see how much we're losing in that space. So I'm trying to get soil temperatures to around that 40, 45 mark.
Yeah.
And so we got there on Thursday. We cover the field back up. We have field heat set like at 45.
Yeah.
And keep it at 45, thinking we're good, but we're not prepared for that -8
I hear
drop.
you. Yeah.
And so I come in, Friday, and we start looking at it, and I mean, it's like, it's not completely frozen, but it's definitely going.
It's on the way.
It's going the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Right? So we cranked the heat back up and gradually build heat overnight going into Saturday's game. Took the tarps off. Obviously had a little frost under the tarp from just the condensation from the heat. But the field went into shock. It went from green to kind of a tip burn type brown. You could still see that the crown was still green. So we limped through that game. I think we had a game the next week. We got through those 2 games, and then we had a couple weeks off, and it was unbelievable how the field, once we cranked the heat back up and temperatures came up to normal temperatures, it really came back really well going into the last few games.
Which,
So,
there's just so many things that go into, your head at those moments. When you're talking about, playability and all of those different standpoints that you're trying to hit in order to ensure the best playing surface for those games, what's going through your head to the point where you're like, you know what, I could probably do a pre-germination process that you learn, like you said, on a golf course.
yeah, so the
How long ago? You said
Well, so the pre-germ process, I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs, I mean, Andre Bruce, George Toma, I mean, those guys we always have pre-germ
Yes,
seed. Kansas
for
City's,
sure.
George started it,
Yeah, yeah.
right? He's the pioneer of it in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Andre used to do it, but we could only do like 150 pounds because we'd have to hand mix it in the shop. So we'd put some seed out in November, and I didn't really get what I wanted to see, and I went home, I started thinking like, man, if I wanted to go pre-germ seed the rest of my career, like larger amounts of pre-germs, not 150 pounds down the middle. Like if I
We're
wanted to
talking
pre-germ
massive.
seed the entire stadium field, 800 pounds, 700 pounds, how would I do it? How would I get it out? It's easy to pre-germ the seed. It's hard to get it dried out enough to go through a spreader
At a
or
massive level, right?
a Vicon or whatever. So, I started thinking, how would I get this out? So I'm sitting in my chair, and I'm started thinking. I pour a bourbon, and I started thinking, like, man, why did I get the seed? What happened? Like, where did I go wrong in not getting seed to germinate in this window? So I'm just like, I don't want to fight Mother Nature in making seed germinate, right?
Sure.
I want to make it germinate and then put it out.
Yeah.
So I started thinking about it, and I just sit there and I keep thinking, and I go back to this divot mix machine. We had a Black Wolf run for the Women's U.S. Open in 1998. So I went back like 24 years.
just a little further back.
Yeah. I mean, I'm obviously dating myself, but I'm old.
No.
I just started thinking, I think that could potentially work. So I called Black Wolf the next day. I only know one guy up there now, and he gave me the info of the company that made the machine. I called him and just said, hey, like, how fast can you get one here? And they said, well, we're looking at like a 10-week window. I need it in like 4 weeks. I'm like, look, man, I really need this machine by December 30th.
For sure.
I need to get it here. Can we work out some sort of deal to get it here? I went to my boss and just said, hey, man, I really think that this will work.
Yeah.
I would love for you to give me the opportunity to just try it. And kudos to him and obviously the organization. Obviously I don't have free reign, but they really legitimately give us the tools to do our job to the best of our ability.
For sure.
Right? Obviously I have to justify what we're doing, but they're awesome in how they support us, and also if we really feel like it's an idea that we think can make happen, they give us the opportunity to do it. Yeah.
For sure.
So we get the machine, and so I started thinking how I'm going to pre-germ 700 pounds. So we cut the top off of a 275-gallon paint tote and put 14 bags of seed in it. Obviously, it already has the drain in the bottom for the paint. So we sprayed all the paint out, got it cleaned out pretty good, and stacked 14 bags in there and pre-germed it for 3 days and took it out, let it dry out. We have a really cool setup. You'll get to see it here on Friday of just how our shop is set up. We have this kind of paint area with a pretty big space of
Open
like grates.
Area. Yeah.
And it's like 2 feet deep, right? So you have these grates where we can actually lay the seed out and let it drip dry and actually dry out pretty good. It heats up, and you have a good chance of it pre-germing in there. So I was driving in to work the day we're going to put it out, and I still don't have a mix of how we're what we're going to do.
Yeah.
It's like a 13-minute drive, and I'm like, man, I got to figure out
how we're going to do this.
I got to figure out what we're going to put in this.
Yeah.
So I start thinking, okay, well, if I went 3 bags of pre-germ and 1 bag of dry seed and 4 bags of turf mint and 3 bags of morganite, I think that dried out. You know, I mean, obviously you don't know till you put it in there.
Exactly.
Right?
It's kind of like, guess what? We're going to go with it and see what happens.
It's a complete guess.
Yeah.
So I go in and we chuck this brew in, and within like 15 minutes, I just put my hand in and I'm like, man, it's dry enough to go through.
We're good to go. We're good to go.
We put 700 pounds out of pre-germ seed in like an hour and 10 minutes. And then we took our Tiragambi seeder down and just went over it a couple directions and spiked it in, and then we drag it with either we have brooms, but depending on how close we are to games, I don't really like to use the brooms. I feel like they get a little aggressive, especially how tender things are.
I was going to say, especially those temps
January.
and that time frame. Yeah, that's crazy.
So we use like old turf and just drag it with the lanes, just lay the grass over and kind of protect the seed. And we added some water and chucked grow tarps on, cranked the heat up a little bit. We had grass in like 5 days in January.
And it went crazy, right? It was coming up through the growth tarps.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
It's just funny because it's January.
I mean, it's just the one thing we figured out this year is just having the opportunity to know where soil, like for years we were guessing where soil temperatures were on the top edge. You know, now.
And I love how you did that, where you sort of adapted their pod, you know, to understand that, hey, I don't need to be at this depth. I need all of these depths.
Yeah, I don't need 6 at 2 3/4. I was like, man, I need 1 at like 1 inch.
For sure.
So I can figure out what my loss is from 2 3/4 to 1 of just where to keep the soil temps. You're trying to keep that at that 55-degree mark to just at least make sure that ryegrass starts growing, right? Yeah, it's a wood block. Like one of my guys
got a beautiful piece of machinery, like wood block.
Yeah, well, I told one of my guys, I'm like, hey man, I need like something, you know, about an 1.5 inches thick or whatever.
Brings a 2x4 cut up.
And he like, we have these squares of wood blocks in our shop, and he just takes like 3 of them, screws them together, drills 3 holes in it. He drills 3 holes in it, and bang, here we go. You know, so I mean, it worked awesome. I still have it sitting on my desk right now to use this year.
Nice.
So you know, I'm really excited about this year of just what we learned from the pods. We didn't get the pods till November.
I was gonna say, you were talking about how the pods came in November, and that was just a game changer in what, like a month and a half, right?
Yeah, I realized really quickly of what, you know, so the way I've done it over the years is I'll go up to security like once a month and ask them to pull tape on like a sunny day.
Yeah.
And see how much sunlight we're getting in August, how much sunlight we're getting in September, October, November, so I can see.
Watching the line.
Yeah, just watching that shade line move in, what times it move in, what time do we get sun, what time does it go to shade. But you know, when you think you're getting 6 hours of light, you're like, oh man, I'm getting 6 hours of light. I have a pretty good chance of growing grass, right? Well, then once you start getting the information on the turf pod that 6 hours is actually like 4 moles of light and you need 20. You're like, oh, I'm a little bit behind.
That's not,
right?
Yeah.
So I'm super excited this year of just what I think we can do going forward of how we use lights, what time we start to use lights, and see, obviously the goal is that you get better every year, right? That's the hardest part of this business is you get 1 spring, 1 summer, 1 fall, 1 winter a year, right? So whatever you try, and obviously every time you try something, for me, I'm like, oh man, this is going to be awesome, right? And you get nothing. You're like, man, I got to wait a year to try again.
I love that because nobody thinks like that, Travis. Nobody thinks like that. They're like, bring on the cold. I want to see if I can beat it, you know? And I love how you're like, I'm the most competitive person, and that's just so awesome, you know?
I am, man. I enjoy. It's a love-hate relationship with Mother Nature.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's times I hate her.
Oh, you should.
But
negative 40 wind chill. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I don't care if you're up for a challenge. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I look forward to the competition.
Yeah.
Right? It's no different than any competition, whether it's golf or. I mean, I got my ass handed to me in darts last year.
I was gonna say I'm gonna beat you in darts.
and I came-
whenever we're in front of a dartboard, you're in trouble.
Dude, I came home.
I know.
And I bought the most expensive dartboard I could find. I bought every weight of darts I could find to figure out what
Your
weight I
wife
liked.
goes, "What's $1,200?"
It wasn't quite that high. It was like $150. It was like $150. But I enjoy that competition with Mother Nature of like, can we figure out how to beat her?
For sure.
Right.
And that's and Mother Nature is just what I love about what you do is like, it's not even that it's Mother Nature. It's just what is natural and what you're planning, how you're scheduling things out. Like, this is what's coming. And then Mother Nature is the one that throws the negative 40 degrees and you're adapting along the way because of your experience. Can you sort of speak to that experience and how it's really played such a big role in now, like what you're doing today and what you're looking forward to this season?
Yeah, I started in this business when I was 19, really on accident. I really started working at the golf course because I could play golf for free. I grew up playing golf. Everybody that grows up wants to play on the PGA Tour. And I was a really, really bad putter. But I was still in that age where I felt like, man, if I could just figure that out, I got a chance,
I'm a 5-putt putter, so you're probably better than that.
So I started in the pro shop and really didn't like it, so I switched to golf course maintenance. And, my boss knew that I was one that if whatever he asked me to do, I would do it to the best of my ability.
Absolutely.
And so I was putting out fertilizer on greens at 19, 20 years old.
That's
like
awesome.
Literally not knowing.
Nobody does that.
I had no idea what the numbers on the bag meant, right? Like I
What is 19, 10, 10?
All
right, let's do it.
No idea. He would tell me where to set the spreader and tell me to go wheel to wheel.
Yeah.
Right? But I always paid attention to the results because I mowed greens and I raked bunkers and I did section work. So I would put fertilizer out.
You see the difference.
And then all of a sudden, 3 or 4 days later, you see it kick in. And you're like, man, greens look really good.
Okay, yeah.
I'm getting a lot more clippings. And finally, I started asking questions, like, what do these numbers on the bag mean? And he starts talking about nitrogen and phosphorus and potassium. I'm like,
huh?
I had chemistry in 10th grade.
Yeah.
You haven't thought about it since then,
I hated those equations.
But I've always just been one that tries to just pay attention and remember the results in certain situations.
For sure.
And honestly, my entire staff is that way. I got guys on my staff that, we went to natural grass in 1994.
Yeah.
And I have Doug Schallenberg, Terry Lee. I got to shout out Alec Wicki and Tyler Gosney. Those guys are awesome. But, the guys that have been there since the beginning, there's times that they're like, Trav, we got to do this. Like, this happened to us in 1997. And we did blah, 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 blah. And that's the biggest thing is just,
learn from
if
your
you're paying
experiences.
attention and you're learning as you go, none of us are going to have the answers all the time.
No.
It's just, if you can remember where you failed and can also remember when you succeeded, and you can step back and
interpret, really
logically just think about both success and failure. How do we succeed today, right? And the experience for me of all the places I've been, look, I've been unbelievably fortunate in this industry of meeting great people. I got to do the Women's U.S. Open in 1998 at Black Wolf Run. That fall, I get a call that the Kansas City Chiefs are looking for someone for the rest of the season. So I call Andre Bruce on Monday morning at 10 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, it's the week of Thanksgiving. He's like, I need you here on Friday. So I go to my bosses at the golf course. I'm like, hey, normally I would turn it 2 weeks in, but I have this opportunity to go work for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I roll out like today? And they said, hey, look, man, we appreciate everything you've done. It's a great opportunity. Go.
That's so cool.
So I roll out at the golf course like 10:30 in the morning, say bye to everyone. I go to the intern house and pack up all my stuff and drive all night and pull my parents' driver like 5 a.m. on Tuesday, hang out through Thanksgiving. I don't leave Ironton, Missouri till like 10:30 p.m. and roll into Kansas City at 3:30 and show up at Arrowhead at 8.
That's
So
awesome.
I'm there for 4 years, back and forth to school. Then I get a call from another buddy saying that he had to fire an intern at Pebble Beach.
Yeah.
He's like, I need someone. Like, would you be interested? I'm full time at Arrowhead at this point, and I'm like, man, really good job and benefits and all these things. And I really don't want to go back.
The big risk.
To being an intern.
Yeah, yeah.
But I also know that if I stay here forever, I'm never going to get management experience. I'm never going to have an opportunity to take over because I just don't have the experience.
I got you.
So I roll out, go to Pebble for 9 months as an intern. Then I was the assistant superintendent at Spyglass for a year and a half. And I was a golf course superintendent for 5 years and came back to Arrowhead in 2010 and took over in 2016. But all of the experiences at all those places, because the one thing about golf is you have 18 greens, which I still say in the grass world, the hardest thing to maintain successfully long term is a golf green, especially in the Midwest.
Oh yeah.
Mowing it an eighth of an inch, and just how do you keep it healthy through the traffic and
Putting the stress through it, you know.
even a place like Pebble where you get 72,000 rounds a year on these tiny, tiny little greens.
Yeah.
You know, like you're just trying to figure out how to keep them healthy. All of those experiences tie into what we're trying to achieve today of just, here's the situation. I have 7 days, I have 10 days, I have 14 days, I have 17 days, or I have 4 days. How am I going to, in the window that I have,
What are we doing?
how am I going to go from A to B and get there?
Yeah.
And that's all just comes down to the experiences that I've been given have helped along the way of just making those decisions, you know.
And that's why you love it, you know. That's what's
absolutely.
awesome. That's what it's and especially like, I mean, talking to you about what you do, and you can just, you know, hear the passion, like facing the challenges and hitting it and making sure that everything is boom, 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 boom. You know, like, all right, I've done everything from your experiences to ensure that I can produce the best product possible, you know. And something that I love that you said, because a lot of people don't say it, is taking both the failures and the successes, because a lot of people are like, use failure to, you know, learn from it. You don't really talk about the successes as much, you know, because, oh, that already happened, so that's just going to happen again. But by interpreting it and using it in a way so that, again, Mother Nature is never the same. You know, she's always going to have something different. It's never like, hey, by the way, you know, we did that last year. Let's do it again. You know,
we're not real
It's got to be
consistent.
70 in January next year.
Kansas
Like,
City is
I
not
don't know what to do.
Kansas City's not known for consistent weather.
No,
That's
it's
for
not.
sure.
For Northern Virginia either. No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
We're at 70 right now.
It's a
My
roller coaster.
sprigs are killing me
Yeah.
right now. I'm getting they're growing well. We had my AD was he called me. He said, "Yeah, I was a little worried. It wasn't looking really good, and then we put the fertilizer out, and everything's like greening up and looking great." I'm like, "Yeah, you know, fertilizer's like the food for the plant, right?" And he's like, "Shut up." he was similar to your boss. You know, he's like, "Just shut your mouth." Like,
Yeah.
oh gosh. So
Yeah, you know, we just try to think of how to fight every scenario, right? When the temperatures drop, but we know we're going to have sun,
yeah,
we'll go out and throw a 16th inch of sand, right? Just enough that we have to drag in. We're not trying to add a bunch of sand, but if we can get sand out at the right time to help just heat the soil up even 5 degrees, even if it is 75 or 78,
yeah.
we can get soil temps up enough to just try to kick Bermuda in just a little bit. You know, you're just trying to force the plant to grow when it doesn't want to grow.
And I love, like, even like most people say 75 for Bermuda grass, like, oh, we're okay. You know, like you thinking about, hey, if I can do one little thing and make a difference, you know, it's just gonna. Well, the other thing is, like, you do it for the longevity of it. A lot of people don't think like you. People are like week to week. Oh, how are we gonna do this? How are we gonna do that? Like, you doing that earlier on, you've built that base and that foundation you always talk about for the footing. And it's always there because of how much you did for it during the growing season. And then obviously it withstood, you know, we talked about the practice facility and the 500-pound men that say, you know what, I bet I can make a bare spot right here after 7 hours of the same drill, you know. But it's just so cool to see all that sort of come together, you know. So it's definitely something that I'm excited to see in a couple days. So obviously we're here in Minneapolis, Bloomington, whatever you want to call it, at this Grounds Leadership Academy. What has it been like for you? Obviously being on a panel, we've had a lot of great discussions with a lot of great people. I was very shocked when I was on the panel, to be honest with you. You see you, Son, Jeff McManus, and Straw. I'm kind of like, how do I fit in there? I told Boyd, I was like, what, you want me? Why?
Yeah, but what you're doing for the industry and just the podcast and just what you're doing for students, and like, you don't really realize how much you're helping shape the future of this industry as well, right? When you're creating excitement for 14-year-old to 18-year-old kids to be excited about what this industry has to offer, the challenges, man, that's the next group of kids that come through that I hope that one day I have an opportunity to have one of your students as an intern or an employee or whatever, where I can, I know that they've seen it, they've done it, they obviously have a passion in it. That's why you're going to be asked, is because you're helping lead the youth and the interest into this profession, and I appreciate it. I want you to know that I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you and all the people that take a vested interest in my kids, because it means the world to them, and I don't think a lot of people understand that. Just little things like I'm talking about this enough, but one of my kids, she's like the biggest fan of Leah Withrow, and Leah reaches out from time to time, and it's just like that one text, it is like one of the greatest things ever when my student walks in. She's like, "Guess who texted me?" Like,
yeah, it's also brings us back to earth sometimes too.
Yeah,
right? Like, you get so caught up in your job that you forget that there's a lot of kids looking up to what's going on and what you're doing, and you want to make sure that you are open to them and available to them. Because when I was that age, look, if anyone told me I would have the career I've had in the place I've got
if everybody told you what MP&K was,
from Ironton, Missouri, I mean, I would say you're crazy. To be able to come up here with Toro and just be on the panels. One, I enjoy. Look, I'm a grass nerd, right? I am. I'll admit it.
We all are, and
so
that's what's great about it,
I enjoy talking about it. It's not like when Boyd called and said, "Hey, would you be interested in doing this?" I'm like, "Well, that's a no-brainer, of course. Of course, I'll go speak." I mean, I enjoy talking about growing grass, whether that's hearing someone else's challenges that they face, hearing what they did, right? Like, any of these things I come to, I learn something every time.
Something different.
There's something that you take back. You're like, man, I never really thought about that.
Yeah, that would have been really
that's
cool.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
There was a quote on the wall at Kauffman Stadium a long time ago that I'll never forget it, but it means a ton to me. It said, "One of us is not smarter than all of us." Right? So when you get in these groups of, we've got 50, 60, 70 people here for this.
Really incredible people too.
Yeah, from all walks of turf management.
It's awesome.
And so to be able to talk to, Son about just like two people and a guy that works like
exactly 9 hours
a
week. You're like,
it's crazy what her results are
for sure
with what she's given.
Yeah.
And when you can pick those brains and just talk to them and just say, hey, what are you doing here? What are you doing there? I always come away from these things learning something, and that's why I'll go to as many as I possibly can.
Yeah.
Is I constantly want to get better. I've always said the day that I say that it's good enough should be the last day that I'm employed there.
Yeah.
I need to find something else to do. If I don't have the passion to want to continually get better, then I need to find something else to do.
When it comes to grounds maintenance, Toro's Groundsmaster mowers are the preferred choice for professionals who require nothing but the best. Visit Toro's website today to learn more about their Groundsmaster mowers and their entire lineup of commercial equipment. Toro, count on it.
And I think that I don't think people understand how powerful that is, because there are so many people, even in this industry, that are just content with like all right, we did a good job. Let's do it again. You know, we're gonna keep doing what we're doing. This is how it works. Like, it is what it is. This is the standard. We're doing a great job. But if you look at it that way, it's never going to change. And usually when you don't adapt, you're going to have major issues down the line, you know, like you always, you know, talk about there. It's an ecosystem that's changing at any given point. You have shade issues. Mine is I've had a 20-year-old field that nutrient deficiencies have been a problem with, you know, like bringing in new materials from
Plus
a different field.
Plus your restrictions in Virginia.
Exactly.
As well.
Yeah.
I mean,
like
it's that, and it's hard. It's hard to make changes.
100%.
How you could make changes other places.
Absolutely. And that's the stuff that people don't take into account. Like, if I'm not trying to get better for my kids aren't going to do anything. They're not going to be able to do anything, you know? And I think it's just so powerful, like a sentiment like that, and have that quote, you know? Something that we've been talking about a lot. Again, we won't talk about leadership right now, but the one today I thought was really cool was innovation. You know, the idea of, you know, I want to get better every day. It's sort of the baseline of innovation for you. You know, what do you think moving forward, innovation wise, is going to be a key role in the season coming up this year, and what you've done? Obviously, you talked about the pods, and now you're actually going to have them for when you need them. What other things are you looking to innovate with your crew and the facility there at Arrowhead?
We got a couple more grow lights last year. This year we're getting one of the new LED lights. Oh
yeah, that's right. You told me.
So we got to demo the LED last year and had really good results from it. The MU50s we have on the sidelines, the mouth of the tunnel. We only have one tunnel. It's on the southeast corner, right? So all the traffic.
You gotta love the older stadiums.
Yeah, I mean,
you
all
know?
the traffic comes out a 16-foot wide tunnel, and it just gets mangled because it's in the shade from basically November to February or March.
For sure.
You know. So I'm super excited. Once I got the pods, I started getting the information of just where I am from a mole standpoint, and really trying to correlate how many moles Bermuda needs to not survive but to grow, and how many moles, you know, cool season wants not just to survive but to be like healthy and growing. We did some testing with that here this spring. We put pods out for a while just to really see when the Bermuda woke up, and just you can kind of see that long range 10-15 day swath of, we really didn't have a lot of Bermuda here. Now we're starting to see Bermudas. We're just trying to figure out what that formula is of where it really starts to try to move. So we started testing that in the spring. You know, we use our grow tarps. We figured out this year that grow tarps with glycol heat is 10 degrees, like consistently 10 degrees warmer with grow tarps on and grow tarps off. So we know that. We're just trying to use the pods with the lights, with the heat, with grow tarps. Like any information I can get to try to make the field better.
You talked about weather forecasting and all that. Yeah.
Obviously, what I'm trying to look at. You know, I look at the 7 day, 7 times a day. You know, to try to figure out what I think we're going to hit going forward. And how we have to adjust sometimes quickly, because what the forecast says today could change tomorrow, and in 3 days it plummets. Right.
For sure.
We just don't know when that's coming. So you try to stay prepared. It's really, a lot of it comes from the philosophy of the Pebble Beach Company. And people always see the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach and they think U.S. Open at Pebble Beach. It's similar to Black Wolf Run as well. Those places, those type of places are like that 365 days a year.
100%,
right? It's
yeah.
not a, there
It's
is
not
no
18 times a year.
there's no window
with
where they
some bonus
say,
games in the cold.
We're gonna just let it go for a little while and we'll bring it back.
We'll come back in there.
The expectations are as close to perfection as possible
Every day.
And when you get used to that, and you also prepare your field to hopefully be close to that, then it makes those changes a lot easier to handle when you're already healthy and prepared to face whatever's coming at you.
For sure. And I mean, I think a lot of that comes to the fact that, again, the science has just escalated so rapidly, you know, because when you look at the pods weren't around but 5 years ago, right?
I didn't know if they were around 5 years ago.
That's what I mean. Like, I think that's like the they used to, I think it was like almost like a pill that you would put in the ground.
I mean,
for
we've
a
had
sensor.
soil moisture.
Yeah.
Like we've had, the soil sensors for a while that go in the soil. You've had
but even
your
those were
soil
only like
sensors.
5 years old, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the pods are only a year or two old, but the fact that they're on top of the ground.
Yes,
and
exactly.
I can, like,
and you can
physically
move it
them
and see where you need it.
wherever. Like if I have a problem area, I say, well, I'm going to move the pod there so I can see what the difference
you
is
can do,
there versus a place that maybe was struggling but has gotten better, and I can try to just correlate how what the differences are and what
best practice.
what we need to do for that area.
Yeah, and I think that's something that the technology was a big part about, especially today for today's events. Some of the things that we talked about were some of the mowers that they're hopefully pushing out. Hybrid, right? The hybrid, not electric. So moving forward, like, what are some of those technologies outside of what we already discussed that you think would play a big role moving forward for you guys at Arrowhead?
I really look at clip rate a lot, of just being able to, when you can separate clip rate from ground speed. It's similar to golf greens, right? We actually went through, we had the first prototypes of the Ewoks when I was at Spyglass. The whole company had 4 Ewoks.
Yeah.
And that was the first mower, I believe, that actually had ground speed and reel speed separate. So your clip rate, you could adjust it for what you're trying to accomplish. Obviously, we're not trying to roll 13 on the stadium field, right?
Yeah.
But from a clip rate and being able to really keep a good, clean cut, it helps us in preparing. Obviously, you want to look good for game day, right? I mean, that's the day that you have to shine. You're on
national television,
you're on national
all that,
television, and you want to make sure that the whole world gets to see what you as a group can provide.
Yeah.
But I feel like that technology would be huge for us, of just being able to separate out what that reel speed is, of just getting a really, really clean cut, and also tying that in with the pods of knowing when to cut. Like, that's the one thing that I learned the most of getting them for November, December, January was I would wait until I got to a minimum of 25 moles, right? So that might take 4 days to get to, depending on where the pod was. So there may be areas we don't mow anything outside the border, south side. We may not mow that for 2 weeks. Right? It just depends.
And I remember this conversation, I was just shocked,
Just depends on what the information's giving you. And when you're legitimately trying to learn, understand, figure out the equation, you're going to gradually have success, right?
For sure.
When you're just staying status quo, that, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got, right? We've heard that saying a million times in this industry, but it's the truth. We try different things and see if it works. And if it doesn't, it's not going to be any worse than it was before.
Yeah.
And
I love how you talk about your internships and everything, how that's really the time where you're going to have those sort of trial and error moments, and getting preparation for training camp coming up in a few weeks, the practice facility, and how that sort of is like a training ground even for you guys when it comes to different practices you might want to implement on Arrowhead. Could you sort of speak to that? And again, it ties back into sort of the leadership style that you have, for your interns and your younger employees, even your part-times usually, probably. I mean, I could be wrong.
Yeah, they get a chance to go up. I mean, there's some people that look at going away to training camp as this, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're still doing that, or that has to suck. Yeah. For me, I enjoy, those fields are 65 miles north of Kansas City, right? So if we can be successful there, then we know we can be successful
south of that
at Arrowhead, right? So we use those fields as, if my guys have an idea like, hey man, I was thinking what if we try this, or this? Like, look, I can't try that on the practice field, stadium field. Like, those aren't a place that we can test. But, we have like a 10, 12-week span in St. Joe before we get to training camp. So we have like probably a legit 6 to 8 week stretch where we can actually try a few different things. And then obviously once you get to a month out, it's time to get them dialed in.
For sure.
And ready for training camp, right? But, we have an internship up there, and we get one intern a year that works through the summer. And we really try not to micromanage them too bad. Obviously, when they come in, we kind of feel them out of what they know, what they don't know. Have you done this? Have you been on a sprayer? Have you ever calibrated fertilizer? Yeah. Have you ever calibrated fertilizer in a Vicon? No. I do it completely different than Tyler does it.
Yeah.
Right? We have two complete different ways that we calibrate. And I don't care which way you want to learn it. It doesn't have to be my way.
For sure.
If you're more comfortable learning it the way that he does it, then by all means, that's fine. But we put them in positions that they are a field manager to an extent for the summer, right? Obviously, there's someone managing them and just making sure, like you're not going to wind up and turn them loose, right? Like I can't.
I think the fertilizer came out too fast.
Yeah, I used an entire hopper in 10 yards. Yeah, that doesn't.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you that one is not right on the calibration.
Yeah, that hurts. But we definitely try to give them the opportunity to learn. I was an intern plenty of times, right? I think nobody wants to go to an internship where you go and you just weed eat all summer and you literally maybe hand water and that's it.
Probably,
right?
yeah.
For me, I was fortunate in going to Black Wolf Run, and they, within a couple weeks of being there, I'm in a sprayer. Bro, I still didn't know what the numbers in the bag came, right? Like, I really still didn't really know it.
You're like, what's in this thing? Yeah. What's going on?
But I was forced to learn.
Absolutely.
Right? So you start asking questions. You start trying to remember the answers. And you're asking anybody that'll hear your question, the questions. And I was fortunate that I had people up there that were great about wanting to teach. Right? They want to help people be successful. By Pebble, the same exact way, where I was fortunate, where I had bosses that I know I drove crazy sometimes asking all these questions, but they were so open and honest. And sometimes like Tom would say, Travis, I can't talk to you right now. I have 50 things going. But if you want to come in at the end of the day and talk to me, my door's wide open. Come in at 3:00.
For sure.
You're willing to stay, I'm willing to stay.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that is part of my responsibility and also part of just paying it forward. If someone did it for me, I would not be anywhere close to where I am today without people like that in my life that have taken the time to like not only care about you, but also help teach you,
make you better,
help you. They see potential. And they'd help you find your own potential you didn't even know that you had, right? And I feel like that's part of my job is to help any kid that I have come through. I see where you are, but I also see where you could go. And sometimes I'm going to be hard on you, and sometimes we're going to just laugh and have fun. Because, anyone that knows me knows I like to just cut up and have a good time. And,
yeah, for sure.
That's who I am. But I can be tough if I have to be. I'd much rather just have fun and do our job and do it well.
Yeah, and it's a great point to like. There's obviously like there's a time and place, and I rarely get angry with my kids, but when it comes to like safety on an equipment and something like that, it's like white faces because like. I turn on a dime and they're like, who's that guy? Like, holy crap, what is he doing? They're like, I'm now very scared because there's a big man that's in front of me.
Incredible Hulk is ripping his shirt off. Yeah,
pretty much. But something that I've always loved, when we talk is something that you've always talked on in your time when you were a child playing golf, how your father told you, always leave it better than when you found it. How have you sort of taken that into account when it comes to our industry as a whole and what you've done over the years? And I'm sorry if I botched that story, but
No, you didn't. I mean, I grew up playing golf, and I was young, and just I was a pain. I wanted to play all day, every day. And
Yeah.
in our golf course, you couldn't play by yourself until I think you were like 12. And so I'm like 8, 9, just killing my dad. As soon as he get home, I mean, I've been sitting in the yard chipping balls all day, waiting for him to get home.
let's go.
So as soon as he pulls in the driveway, let's go. And he's tired. He was a lineman for electric company, and it's hot, and he's been outside all day. And now you look back, and go, man, I bet he was freaking worn out. But so he went over to the country club and just said, look, this kid's driving me nuts. Is there any way? Is there any way that he can play by himself? So I was like 10, I think, and he came home and said, "Hey, look, they're gonna let you play by yourself, but don't hold people up. You take care of the golf course." He said the best way to handle that is always leave the golf course in better shape than you found it. Just because you hit a ball in a bunker and you're going to rake your footprints out.
Mm-hmm.
If you see other footprints, go ahead and rake those out too.
Yeah.
Right? Just leave the golf course in better shape than you found it. And it's always carried with me in just how I want to leave Arrowhead, leave the industry. You hope that you've done something to try to make it better than you found it. And like those words always resonate in my head of just, that's why I continually want to get better at what I do. Right? I don't ever want to get stagnant, because if I am making headway and just say this is good enough, maybe you leave it a little bit better than you found it. But like, how much better can you leave it than you found it? That's what I want to find out, is what can we as a team, as a group, pull off down the road that we leave the industry better than we found it, and we also can promote the youth and teach them the right ways of, here's why we do what we do. Not just do it, like you go do it, right? Not that. There's nothing I like more than when people come in and say, why are we doing this? Then you go through the explanation of, here's
this is how we got this.
What I'm thinking is we go here, then here, then here, then here. Sometimes you're like, whoa, I didn't think about that. Or sometimes you're like, what if we do this too?
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa, that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
So, we legitimately try to just collaborate and just figure out the best way to handle the situation, what gives us the best field possible on this day with this weather, and then plan for the next one. Like, obviously, you're trying to plan for all of them, right? Everything that we do in August, September, part of October, is what sets us up for success November, December, January.
Yeah.
But there's times you can do all those things perfect, but you get crazy wrenches thrown in November, December, January. Now it's a quick adaptation. How do we figure it out?
Getting the toolkit out and dealing with the wrenches.
Sometimes not even the toolkit, right? Yeah. Sometimes you're like building a tool, like you're making a tool.
Honestly.
Yeah, you're making a tool out of a stick. You're building a hammer out of a stick and a rock with a little bit of rope and hoping.
Yeah, hoping it holds together to get to that game.
I'm not going to sit and act like every decision I've made, I've known what the outcome was going to be. There's a lot of times that we're guessing. Obviously, it's an educated guess.
It's well educated,
right?
Yes.
It is an educated guess.
Yeah.
But like, you make the decision. Like, the one thing I'm not afraid to do is make a decision of what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Then sometimes I'm like hoping that it, you're like,
Lord, please
let this one work. Please let this one work.
One time you can screw me over on the next one. Then you get to the next one. Just this one time.
Even though I asked last time, let's go one more time.
I know. You did it last time. Do it this time too, please.
Get one more.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, how even through all of our education and all of our experience and everything that we go through, there's still just that, oh crap, this might not work. Because it's I think you made a great point today, is like, there are only so many things you can learn from an education and from other things. It's stuff you haven't learned in the classroom, like the -4 degrees. Like there's so many things, you
They
know?
don't teach that.
They don't.
They don't teach Bermuda and even ryegrass for -8 and wind chills of -40. There's no
textbook.
There is nothing to teach you that.
Yeah,
You're legit just trying to figure out the equation.
Yeah.
Right? My mind is always turning of just what do we do?
Mm-hmm.
And how can we somehow figure out how to be successful in this really, really bad scenario?
Yeah. And inspiring, innovation with bourbon.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a great talk today. I can't get over that. I loved that. That was awesome. Something about, this trip is that they're going to build it into next year and years to come, right? What are some of the things that you've loved about this trip and everything that we've been able to do? I mean, I've had a blast with you and everybody that's here, and Dr. Straw, son, all of them, Jeff McManus, like getting to spend some time and talk, having new conversations with new people. What has been sort of your favorite part about the Toro Leadership Grounds Leadership Academy? I've really botched that on my podcast. It's
That's
not
okay.
good.
My favorite part on any of it is to meet people.
Yeah.
I just enjoy people. We're at the end of the day, we're all trying to do a job as well as we can, right? With whatever circumstances we're given.
Mm-hmm.
Hands are tied, one hand's tied. Like some people have all 4 limbs tied, right? That
Yeah.
they are going to struggle to get anything accomplished because of where they are. But the people that you meet, that's number one for me. It's just getting to meet new people. I enjoy it. As far as the leadership part, it's cool to hear, people like Jeff McManus talk about just to hear people talk about their philosophy, right?
Yeah.
You start to think about, I feel like mine's okay, but what can I learn from this other group of people? And even just listening to questions and just the talk of everyone in the room, I enjoy that. It's a lot like the Super Bowl, right? Like I sign up for the Super Bowl every year.
Yeah.
And trust me, at the end of a season, and
You're tired.
look, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this complaining, but
No, I hear you.
But we've hosted 5 straight AFC championships, right?
God, you're just so good.
It's a lot of.
I know.
It's a lot of extra time that you're trying
way
to make
more than
it.
most people.
And now with the extra bye week at the beginning and then the extra week of season, you've added 2 weeks to the season. So what used to be playing maybe January 15th or 20th is now almost February 1st, right?
Crazy.
We've added a lot of time to it.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go that long, it's one where you enjoy the challenge of what you're seeing. And what I can learn from the people here is how do I help manage in the good times and in the bad times,
Mm-hmm.
just hearing their scenarios. Every time I go to the bowl, every time I come to something like this, I learn something. I sign up for the Super Bowl because I know I'm going to learn something.
Yeah.
Right? When I'm signing up, because in case my team goes, I have a chance to be there and hopefully help the situation.
Your
right?
phone case, love it.
But I learn something every year, and I'll go. I'm going to have to say this on here. Hopefully, the SFMA listens to me right now. But I wish it was a little bit later, so
No, and I've talked to people
so that
about
I had a chance. We haven't got to go in 5 or 6 years,
Yeah.
right? Which I can't complain because my team's still playing. But
Yeah.
it means a lot to me to go and meet people and talk to people
Yeah.
and be a part of it.
Mm-hmm. Because it's such a vast network.
It is, man. It's the amount of knowledge at that 1 week-long event.
Mm-hmm.
You can learn things there in a 7-day span that help you through years.
Yeah.
Right? So that's my biggest thing. My biggest takeaway from here is just being able to meet people and also just hear other people's way of leading, and also hearing Toro's side of just equipment and what their long range goals are.
It's been really cool to hear that stuff too.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
Don't worry, I will always Zoom call you, and you can write SFMA on your whiteboard in your garage. Oh, I still can't get over it. It's like, who's on there with you? Who's at the other table? I was like, Pappas and Bajorn. He's like, well, I could have told you we're the bunch of losers. Oh, we love you guys. We do.
No, those guys are like great dudes, man. They're some of my favorites in the league. I have to give them crap.
Oh, of course. When you're a winner and they're losers, it's easy.
We all take pride in badgering each other.
Yeah,
so.
and I think that's another thing that you really have spoken to a lot this week is you gotta have fun. If you're not having fun, obviously there's times to be serious, and we've talked about it. There are times we have to switch it and understand that. It's just there are a lot of people that have lost that fun. You know what I mean?
It's taken. Look, I take it serious.
Oh, 100%. And everybody knows that.
I take my job serious.
Yes.
But I don't take myself serious. I don't take really that many situations serious. I actually get in trouble a lot of times because I'll laugh in situations I probably shouldn't laugh. Right?
No.
But it's who I am. Of me, my staff. We all spend more time with each other, like awake,
100%,
than we spend with our own families, right? So in that, I want you to come to work and have fun. Like, I want us to laugh every day at something, right? Like, let's just have fun and get your work done, right? Let's do our job, but let's make it, even on the worst days, make it as fun, even though you're miserable the entire time, right? 18-hour
Those are
snow
some
removal.
of the best memories, though.
18-hour snow removal is like the worst, right? Or the Denver game a few years ago where it snowed like 6 inches during the game. That's like a groundskeeper's worst nightmare, right? But you have an option whether you curl up in the corner and cry about it, or we might as well make it fun while we're here.
I can give you a few stories of snow. There's one time, it was so funny. It's at Virginia Tech. And I was a student at the time, and I was going home for spring break, and an ice storm came in, and I'm stuck in Blacksburg, and I'm like, I am not going into work. I am not going into work. I don't care if they call me. I am not going into work. My boss, Casey Underwood, calls me. He's like, I answer the phone, and he's like, I know you're here. Get your ass in here. I'm like, it's like, Casey, I'm not here. He's like, if I come over there and you are there, we're going to have a problem. So, and I had already packed everything up. So I'm thinking like, oh, I'm okay to just wear, like, I had not like heavy sweatpants or anything, but something like easy. And then rain pants, I put on. I was so cold. It was bitterly cold. We had gotten a fraternity. We literally paid a fraternity to come out and help us shovel snow off a softball field. It was awful. From literally 9 p.m. until like 4 a.m. Just shoveling, loading up. But luckily, it was me, my boss, and one other full-time guy with the frat. We were the ones operating. Ben Kramer, I think, was the other one that was with me. And we were operating the the carts, and one was on the tractor in the parking lot. So Ben and I were doing the carts, and we'd come in and we literally just do donuts into where we dumped it, like literally spin outs, because the whole thing is a sheet of ice. It's like, you know what? It might be stupid, but I'm having a blast.
I might as well cut a couple donuts.
Exactly.
Snow and ice.
Exactly. I do want to wrap it up on this. Obviously you're one of the best in this industry, and I know you don't want to hear that and everything. And I'm the same way. I don't want to hear people saying that I'm doing incredible things, which I'm not looking for that. But what has it been like for you? And again, for kids in my program, what has it been that has driven you, and what should they be looking forward to with a job in this incredible industry?
I think for me in that is just, obviously they have to have the passion first, right? It's no different than if you grew up playing sports, right? If your parents force you to play baseball, you really love baseball. Actually, you're like, I really don't want to go practice. I don't want to play. For me, I grew up playing golf. I was extremely passionate about golf from the age of 5, right? I loved golf. I still love golf today.
Yeah.
This industry, once I got into it and really, I had no idea what I wanted to do, man. You know, if you called my mom tomorrow, she would say she wanted to choke me out at 23 years old, right? I mean, I honestly just had no idea what I wanted to do. And when I got the opportunity to go to Black Wolf, it was a friend of mine from the first golf course I worked at. It really, that's where I really get the passion for growing grass and seeing what something can be, right? When you take a golf course, obviously Black Wolf was really good when I got there. I didn't really do a whole lot to help make it.
You're like,
U.S. Open.
this is me, you know.
But it was really cool to be a small part of that. And so once you have the passion, just follow every opportunity. I tell kids all the time, when a door opens, you have a choice. Whether you barge through it or you close it. Don't barely open it and take a peek. Like, if it's a good opportunity and you know it, go. Like, go learn as much as you possibly can at the right places. Ask the right questions. Make sure, like, I think for your kids, as they go into college, and if they go into turf in college, you know, when they go look at internships, don't just look at the name of where you're going.
That's so true.
Now, obviously, sometimes you want to have the name to an extent, right? But you want to figure out which one is going to give you the opportunity to actually learn something and do, right? It's one of the greatest things I was ever given a chance on was, and I think every internship in America should honestly do it.
For sure.
Is at Black Wolf Run, every intern ran the crew for a week. You were the superintendent for 1 week.
Yeah.
Right? You come into the shop and all eyes are on you, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like thinking, like, for the superintendent, like, I mean, like, you know, do you want me to, are we supposed to flirt this week? Or are we?
What's the 3 numbers again there? What are the 3 numbers on the bag?
Do we need to, like, move like the cart signs? Or like, you don't really know. Like, you know, I'm looking at Steve, like, and he's like, bro, it's on you. I mean, I was just like, man, I got a lot of things to think about. That was for 7 days.
Yeah.
But it really woke me up in saying, man, there's a lot more to this than just looking by my name on the board. Like, your kids need to look at places that give them the opportunity to grow, right? Not just go weed eat, hand water, rake bunkers for a summer. Right? Like, who's going to give me an opportunity to prove that I can do this, right? That I can learn something and perform it at a high level.
Yeah.
That's the biggest advice I can give is don't burn bridges.
Which can be hard.
Stay off your phone.
Yeah.
Do your job as well as you can. Take pride in what you do. And don't be afraid to ask questions on internships. Don't be afraid to say, hey, look, if this is going to be, I'm just going to come in and weed eat and rake bunkers. That's not what I'm looking for.
No, 100%.
If you can't provide me that, then I'm going to try to find someplace
who's
that
going
can
to
provide me the opportunities to learn, grow, network. Go to SFMA. Go to your local chapter. Like, be part of.
Yeah.
I wish I could be more involved in the local chapter that we have.
For sure.
You know, there's just so many things going on that
it's hard to. It's really because I'm involved and I don't give enough time and I feel terrible about it. You know.
But it's not that I don't want to.
Yeah.
It's just difficult to do at times depending on what events are going on. Right. So, you know, I think that what you're doing is awesome with the kids, and even the podcast, I don't know, it was like a year or two ago where the kids were asking the questions. Man, that's like my favorite.
It was awesome. Is
when they're obviously intrigued and they take pride in what you guys are doing. Awesome to see, you know, the younger generation come through and really take pride in what we're doing.
For sure. Well, I can't thank you enough for all that you do. I'm so excited to be down at Arrowhead in a couple days. Thank you for having me there, and thanks for just a great time here. It's been awesome.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me on here. I appreciate it.
Let's take a moment to acknowledge our sponsor, the Toro Company, and their Workman UTX. The Workman UTX is tough and dependable with the highest payload in its class, rugged design, powerful performance, and unmatched versatility. It gets the job done without compromise. Visit Toro's website to learn more.